Hello there. So, in this video, I'm going to discuss the last part of the audit, which is completing the audit, which includes the reporting the audit and how to do the follow up on the audit. And this is the fourth video in the series of the auditing cycle that I'm trying to complete based on ISO 19011. So, in case you want to understand this video, I would strongly recommend to watch my first three videos, which are there. And once you watch this, then you will have the understanding because this is the fourth video in the series of the videos that I'm doing on the auditing. So, in case you know me, you can skip the next 30 seconds to get right to the topic. This is Sayed Arshad Hashmi from Core System Consultant. By profession, I'm an engineer with extensive experience as consultant, trainer, and auditor for many ISO standards, including information security, business continuity, energy, quality, environment, health, and safety management standards. I've done more than 3,000 mandates of trainings and audits, and I've worked on more than 150 consulting projects with major industrial sectors across the globe. So that was a brief about myself, and now let's get started. So, audit completion phase. Now, in audit completion, there are two portions to it. One is the reporting part, that how do you report the audit, and the other one is the follow up. So, when you are reporting the audit, you need to understand that you are not only reporting the non-conformities in the audit report. 90% of your audit report will comprise of the conformities, and you will record the whole event of audit, that what were the responses, which documents you reviewed, which areas you observed, how have you evaluated a specific process or a department against the requirements of the standard, against the requirement of the company's own policies and procedures, and how do you evaluate the compliances. So you're going to record a lot of conformities in which you found the system compliant. That is part of your, which what we call as the auditor notes. And auditor notes can be a replica of your auditor's checklist as well. So whatever the checkpoints that you checked, whatever the additional notes that you have noted down during your audit, you can put it all there. And then as a result of that, you will develop the audit report, which comprise of your audit plan, your auditor notes, which can be your checklist as well. There is an executive summary to the whole audit process, and lastly, the non-conformities that you are raising. So the auditor findings, apart from the conformity, can be categorized as the strengths, the opportunity for improvement, the observations, and the non-conformities. And some organizations may categorize the non-conformities as minor and major, and I'll just come to it. But let me first explain you these categories. So the first one is the strength. Strength is any thing that you noted down good in the department, and I would strongly recommend to highlight that area, because that makes the auditee very receptive, and auditee will know that it's not just the non-conformities that the auditor is going to report, and that creates a rapport between you and the auditee. So do note down the strengths, do report it in your report. And then the second category is called the opportunity for improvement. That is one of those things in which the auditor may think that you can do something better. So a five step process can be done in three steps, or two forms can be combined together and can be done in one form. So anything that you may think can be done better, you can report that as opportunity for improvement. Opportunity for improvements are not necessarily to be adopted by the auditee. It's their call if they want to go ahead with the opportunity for improvement or not. Observation is the third category, in which you write down the potential nonconformities. For example, there are vents which are open and letting the dust to come in and deteriorate your raw material. That can be reported as an observation. The raw material is intact at this point, but it may lead to a non-conforming product. So any of those incidents where there is a potential non-conformity or a potential non-conforming product or an incident, you can report that as observation. And lastly, the non-conformities. So the few things that you need to understand is that this is not necessarily to be reported like this. These are all best practices. That's how the audit is reported. But non-conformity is a requirement of the standard. And again, there are two type of non-conformities. One is called a minor non-conformity, and the other one is called a major non-conformity. Now, let me clarify that as far as you doing the internal audit internal auditing is concerned, the major and minor concept does not apply. You can declare every non-conformity is a plain non-conformity. This major and minor non-conformity is more of a certification body, an external auditor, which is coming to certify your organization. They use those terms, and that has an impact on the final certification decision. But lot of the auditors, a lot of the organizations may use the same methodology for major and minor to put weightage in their non-conformity to differentiate between critical and non-critical non-conformities. So it all depends upon the how you have defined the internal audit process, and if you are adopting that major and minor. Once you define that that's how you do the internal audit, then you need to follow it. But the standard does not ask you to differentiate between a major and a minor. So the non-conformity that you are giving, that is where the key strength of the auditor comes into play, where the normal criteria is this, the format that I'm showing you on the screen. And it has basically three categories. So again, there's no hard and fast rule how to write non-conformity, but usually it contains the criteria that has been violated. The criteria means the clauses of the standard. So wherever you found the clause, and that can be your company's own procedure as well. So if you are doing a audit which may be violating your company's own policies and procedures, you can quote down that as well, along with the criteria of the standard, that which of the criteria of the standard is being violated. The second portion is called the nonconformity, where you write the description of the nonconformity. So the easy way to write the nonconformity description is to just to negate whatever the criteria for the standard is. Just say that this is not happening. And let's suppose if there is a calibration requirement, you can tell that calibration was not found done. And then there is a third portion in the nonconformity which talks about the evidence. Now, in evidence, you can quote down all the information, where you were standing, in which area you found, which equipment number, part number, or whatever the information that you gathered at that particular location to prove your non-conformity. So these are called evidences, and you can quote down that third portion, and that's how you develop non-conformity. So the non-conformity needs to be done towards the end of the audit, and that needs to be handed over to the auditee so that they can start working on that. And then you can come up and compile your report offsite, like after the audit. But a good practice is to always submit your audit report within the next 4 to 5 days. So do not delay it, because that will lose the impact otherwise. But you do compile the audit report, which as I earlier said, it comprises of the executive briefing, the audit plan, the auditor's notes, which are the checklist, and the non-conformities, all attached together may make an audit plan. Again, these are good practices. These are standard practices, but not mandatory practices as such. So, um, so then the next part comes in, which is about the follow-up. Usually the audit manager, he or she keeps the track of the non-conformities, when you need to take the action, when the auditor will take the action, so whenever the due date comes in, they're going to call the respective auditor who raised the non-conformity. Usually it's not necessary again, and the same auditor may go and check if the non-conformity has been resolved, if the corrective action has been taken, and if there are any other non-conformities similar nature in the system or not. But do not start the audit again. So just check out that no non-conformities are happening further of the similar nature because of the same reason, and you close down the non-conformity and come back and you submit it to the internal audit manager. So whoever is the process owner for the internal audit. So that's how you complete the whole audit cycle, which comprise of reporting on the non-conformity, and then doing the follow-up, and then closing down all the non-conformities, and that completes one whole audit cycle. So I hope the information may be beneficial for you to understand this last phase of the audit process. Um, I would see and maybe covering the different aspects of internal auditing further in the series of audit videos that I'm doing, and probably I'll be covering the areas of auditing the top management. That's one of the interesting areas that I may see that I should share some of my experience with you all. So hopefully I will see you in my next video. Till then, thank you.